I am personally cancelling this whole interview. It's over.
I want that one that you
How
did.
is that? No. You rigged this thing. Those are the days.
And you got a girlfriend for that.
I got a girl from it. I know so many people, so many female singers who say, I want to sound like Janet. People want what Janet has, but they don't want to put in what she has put in. Guys. Where do I even start? For starters.
Guys, before the answers. The likes of Oliver Mtukudzi, what do you think they have done?
If you want to have impact that stays, impact that lasts, you have to be operating within your own assignment, your own calling. Your own Master trended with that Hello Mwari song, but for him to have impact on the young people that stays, he had to dig deeper than just that. Trending is like a core. It's like an announcement to say, hey, I'm here. But if you've got a song that's trended and you say, hey, I'm here, and people are now like paying attention, okay, we are here. So what do you have to give us? Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome again to another episode of Admire's Close Up, and this is your main man speaking, Admire Manyowa, and joining me today in the studio is an interesting gentleman. This man, I'm really trying so much to be like him, you know, from the hairstyle to the beard. You see, I'm a real genuine follower, you know. And I'm super excited, guys. This man has worked with a lot of artists. He wears different caps in the music arena. He's a teacher, he's a sensei, he's a music director. He's also into business. This man has worked with a lot of international and local musicians, the likes of Donnie McClurkin. He has worked with Sipho Makabane, Zaza. He has worked with a whole lot of other international musicians, and even locally he has worked with Amara Brown. He's currently working again with Sister Janet Manyowa, amongst others. I'll send you the link of the website so you can check. The list is endless. We'll finish tomorrow, guys. But I'm super excited to present and to introduce to you the man of the hour, Mr. Mark Madzinga. Baba, welcome to the show.
What an introduction. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you know, I just thought let me lay it out and let the people know that I'm your actual disciple, not all those ones who have fancy haircuts.
Guys, thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you for hosting me.
Awesome, great. Well, I'm just looking at, you know, your history. I mean, wow. You know, your bio is very interesting. I was just checking the number of the musicians that you worked with. You know, it's quite a lot, especially on the international side. Seeing you work with Donnie McClurkin, these Zaza, and all these other guys that you've worked with around the globe. Just briefly tell me, from your experience working with these international musicians, what have you gathered so far?
Yeah. Well, I remember you say Donnie McClurkin, when he came to Zim and we shared the stage with him, it was quite an experience. Just having him within like a meter away from you was quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I was still young then. I was still learning, still growing. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3, we had Sinach in Zim, and I was tasked with being music director for that show. Having to prepare a choir for her and BVs, and then, you know, putting all that together. We also had Ntokozo Mbambo around. I had to put up the band and the BVs for that. And the experience of working with international musicians is very different from our local people, especially getting to experience them outside of Zim. So that's in their own space. Their work ethic, their approach to music is totally very different from what we are used to. There's a relaxed approach within our own setups here, But outside, I can tell you for certain that they obviously go the extra mile when it comes to music. So once they're in the element, some of them are very friendly and very, warm and welcoming outside of stage. But when it comes to actually getting the work done, you really get to experience.
You feel them.
Yeah, you feel the pressure at a different level. But what that experience has, to answer your question, what it has given to me is that exposure where you're exposed to a high level of performance, a high level of work ethic. And what it has done for me is that it has cultivated my own process, my own approach and things like that. So when it comes to music, I do my best to get things done.
I see that. Wonderful work you did there. I mean, and shout out to you for the, or should I say thumbs up for the well done for the job you did with the concert that was recently held with Sinach Came. That was some big event there. I was just looking at it, super amazed with the entire setup and how you arranged the whole thing together with the band that you worked with. Tell me something outstanding about that event. What can you pick up, or what can you pick up from the event that really stood out?
Of course, I can tell you that the experience, like I said, the experience of working with people at that level, international musicians, international singers and artists, is great. Having to experience my brother and my sister in Ntokozo Mbambo and their husband Nqubeko Mbatha, it was so nice having them back in Zim again. But I will also tell you that for me, one of the highlights was putting together a choir, a team of people from different churches, and them just coming together and in one voice and with one accord, just doing something well coordinated. And we did that within 1 week. Like, we started rehearsing just the week before, and they all came, they brought their A game, they understood the assignment, and they just dug deep. Some of the songs, because the Sinach team couldn't share songs that I knew which are not yet released. They couldn't share that beforehand, so we only got to hear them like hours before going on stage. People learned new songs hours before going on stage, and I think that's kudos to them. Thumbs up to them for putting up such a great act and supporting her at that level, because they added to her having that big sound on that Zim stage. And I know that even their take home was that we did a great job for them, and they're actually happy and keep sharing even that experience. So I think that was the highlight for me, just putting together people from different churches and them coming and bringing their A game and making sure we're all sounding and they really raised the flag high for us as far as Zimbabwe is concerned.
Interesting. I understand, Mr. Mark, like any other person, you try to be diplomatic about this whole thing, but I know putting 2, 3, 4, 5 minds together to do something, there's always that mind which is just hard to deal with, What can you say? I mean, I've worked with some musicians. It was on a small scale. I used to have a team in Zimbabwe, and these were people from different churches. And I must say, I know it's not that smooth sometimes when you have a person who has a different perception or view to how things must be done. How have you dealt with different mindsets coming from different churches? Obviously, they do music differently, to synchronize that and have one sound.
So obviously, I think the advantage for me on this one was that having links and being networked with the leaders in the different churches, I also being the leader in my own church as far as music is concerned, it was easier to get representation from the different churches of people who are actually good at what they do, first of all.
Okay.
So I think for each leader, each team leader, the people they sent us, they would have sent us the greatest they have. But even outside of that, you also have different cultures, because I know different churches sing certain things in different ways. Yeah. But the idea is to come up with a foundation where we all can meet, where we are the playground is level enough for us to deliver the same thing, like one voice, so that we can all sing together the same thing. And I also am big on teams, so I wasn't doing it all by myself. I had Pardon Mutago, who was doing the vocal coaching. I had Nyasha Ngwandiambira, who was doing the choir directing and the conducting. And then we had Douglas was handling the band side for the band that supported Ntokozo and supported Nkululi Bebe. So I wasn't doing it alone. So you know how, like in the Bible, Moses was advised by his father-in-law to put captains of tens, captains of hundreds, captains of thousands. So when you break down a big chunk into small, sizable bites, it becomes easier to eat an elephant because you're not trying to bite it all at once, but you are having different people come together as a team to handle the different sections, which is what made life much easier. So we were able to deliver at that corporate level as one big choir, but the different individual elements were handled by different people who were members of the team.
Interesting. That's quite insightful. I'm glad, and that you guys put together that awesome performance that night. Tell me something about the time that you worked with Zimpraise, because I understand I've seen you work with Zimpraise a couple of times on different projects. The time you worked with Zimpraise, how was the experience for you?
So each stage of my life, as far as the music journey is concerned, has come with its own lessons, its own, what it came with. Zimpraise, it sort of gave me access to dealing with a large number of people who are highly opinionated and who are also gifted. Musicians can be very highly opinionated. Creative people are not the easiest to deal with. But I learned humility. I learned long suffering. I learned, because there were times, there were times when, you come across people who, and when I came into Zimpraise, I was, initially, when I wanted to join, I was pretty much still learning. But by the time I came into Zimpraise, I had already started my full-on career in music. And I had a few accolades to my bag. So it resulted in respect from certain sections of the team, but it also resulted in certain people thinking, what does he know? What does he want us to do? Because it's very hard to get into a space where you have your own signature or what you do, and you have your own way of doing things, but you're coming into a place where there's already people who've been there and they've been doing things a certain way. It's very difficult to balance such a scenario, because at that time, Joseph Mazire obviously knew what I brought to the table. And there are certain things that he would ask of me to do based on what he knew that I could do. But that understanding was not necessarily there across the board. So there were people who felt like, what does Mark want us to do? And that in itself, like I said, it taught me humility. It taught me patience, because I had to be very patient with some of them. There were certain things that were said about me, which I know the people who said them would probably regret them now. But I had to receive all that graciously and not take it to heart. I think when I was at Zimpraise, that's when I learned the most about not burning bridges, because there are certain people that I then had to work with after Zimpraise, but in the moment of Zimpraise, they made my life very difficult. And I'm being very honest. But in the moment of it, I actually swallowed my pride and let them be. And for the greater good, I made sure what needed to be done for the bigger picture to come out perfectly was done. But I didn't take what people said or what people did to me too hard, because that gave me the strength to even keep on going now, and for those people to even then come back to me and we still work together, because I just never showed them the side where I'm like, I'll never work with you again, or nah, you're too nasty. Because it's a small industry at the end of the day. The music industry in Zimbabwe is very small. And if you want to pick sides and you want to segregate and you want to like and dislike, hate and, and love and have favorites, but then some you never call, it becomes very difficult for you to function. Because you then might just be able to pick up the phone and get your next music director or get your next sound engineer. But if you've burnt that bridge, you are stuck with your small circle of whoever you've worked with all along. So that's one of the reasons why some people's quality and some people's product never improves and never, evolves to the next phase from glory to glory, I guess, because they have sort of limited themselves to a certain circle, and that circle can only give you the best of what they can do. And once you've reached the ceiling of that circle, you won't be able to get out of it because you've burnt bridges with those who are outside of your box.
Interesting. No, that's quite insightful. I've got a lot of follow-up questions that I want to ask you from everything you just said right now. But we'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. We still have Mr. Madzinga right here in the studio. We'll be back shortly after this break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We still have my sensei in the studio. This man inspires me a lot. Yeah. You don't want to know, guys. Just now, Mr. Mark, you were telling us about your experience with Zimpraise, and I must say I can relate. Working with a choir is something that also I'm familiar with. But tell me something about your experience in the past 18 years. What can you at least maybe highlight to say, over the years, this is what I used to think? Maybe let's take you back to 2004. You say, guys, I used to believe A, B, C, D, but now I've changed. This works like this. This works like this. Maybe just state a few principles that you have now improved.
Okay, so 2004, I was young. I was a very young man. I was still very young. And I think 2004, I was still actually playing guitar. I think it was in the next year that I fully had to start playing keys because at church, the keyboard guy was leaving. So I used to just touch the keys here and there, but I was mostly playing guitar. Even in the jazz band that I was playing at school, I was the tuku of the day. I would sing Oliver Mtuku's songs and play guitar.
Interesting.
So
you were singing?
I was singing.
Oh my goodness, you're going to sing on the last segment.
I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not doing that.
I want to take you back. I want to take you back to 2004, man.
The funniest thing is that we were invited to stuff like weddings, and I would be singing and playing guitar and entertaining the crowd. And I remember I even got, I think she was she my second or my third girlfriend? She she just came up to me. She's like, I like the way you sing and how you play.
Oh, I did.
Or she sent it through someone, but anyway.
Oh my goodness.
That was back then. So I was young, getting into this whole music space. I was young. I was naive. I was, but I loved music with a passion. Like I knew that I was meant to be a musician. I've always known that.
Yeah.
Though I was mostly a sportsman then, but music was my thing. Like books, I was intelligent. I was smart enough to pass. But it wasn't my thing. Like, when you can do something, but it's just not where your heart is. So sometimes I would skip maths and go to the music room and just play the piano and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I didn't know anything then. All I knew was to just dig deep into the instrument. That's all I knew. I just went for it. I just found that space and just never left it. So out growing in it, then you then start seeing gaps, because I think generally the way I'm wired, I won't just settle for whatever is on the surface. For me, just playing keys was just never enough. And I try to get the people that I work with, or the ones that come close to me, or the ones that say, Mark, can I sit down with you and ask you what I should do or how I should approach this music thing? I would just tell them to go beyond just the, the norm of just playing whatever instrument it is that you play. But for me, it's like you have to put yourself in a place, not just to try and be outstanding.
So 2004 to 2022, that's about 18 years. That's not a joke, okay? A person can be born and they can be 18, they can get what we call in Shona Chitupa.
Yep.
This guy has been in the game for that long. Yep. Tell me, what stands out in these 18 years that you can share with us to say, hey guys, since 2004, this is what I have?
Okay. I think when I started this thing, I was young, I was naive, I was immature. All I wanted was to just play the instrument, and that's all I knew. I was still playing guitar then, but I grew from that by force because the guy who was at church playing keys left the country, so I had to sort of adjust my preference. Guitars are easier, acoustic guitar, singing lines.
And you told me you were singing Tuku, which you're going to do, by the way, before we end this interview.
Yeah, I used to sing Tuku songs, and those were the days.
And you got a girlfriend for that.
I got a girl from it. I gotta go from it. But then I was too scared of girls. I don't even know how that worked out. Because honestly, I think she was attracted by the fact that I could sing and I could play a guitar.
By then, did you have beard?
I didn't have beard then. I had lots of hair. So I used to do so. I experimented with every possible hairstyle before my hair decided to vanish. I think internally my system knew that there was going to be a day where we would have no hair. So I had locks at some point. I relaxed my hair. I had spikes. I did everything. There was a time when I was looking like Wolverine, and I did everything. I did everything possible before the hair transferred from here to here. So I think then I wasn't looking too shabby. So maybe she also was attracted by the yellow and the fact that I could play and I could sing. But then I was very mature, like I said, and I was scared of girls. It really didn't work much.
Looking at you, one would never guess you say stuff like this, But
well, there's so much. We could sit and talk about this stuff forever, man. But I've got a history. I've got my own little history. But I had to grow from there. And I had to grow from that. Like I said, I was just hungry for the instrument. I would sometimes skip maths class to go play piano in the music room because I was so curious about this thing, and I learned a lot of stuff by myself because I would spend so much time with the instrument. And that period was actually very necessary. It's something that I can't transfer to anyone now. Of course, most of the people that approach me, they ask me, Mark, what do you think I should do? We see that you are doing well. How also can I achieve some of these things that you are doing? And one of my greatest desires and one of the things that I always share with them is to not just streamline themselves or think inside or limit themselves to a box where they're just musicians. You're just a bassist or you're just a piano player. No, you have to grow from there and see the gaps. For me, responsibility kept on being added to me because I would see gaps and just move into that space and make sure things are done. I didn't need a title to be doing the work that I would do, like even for Zimpraise. I wasn't called music director, but I was doing the work of a music director.
Wow.
So, and I didn't have a problem with that. And, you know, one of the things that I can tell you for certain is that the people who are watching, the people who are following, the people that you have to work with and network with, like I met Zaza through that Zimpraise experience. But if I had limited myself to thinking, no, I'm just a piano player, or no, I'm just a band director, I would have never moved to that phase where I could create a music team for her that she was actually comfortable with working with, and even wants to work with me again after that. So responsibility was added to me by me carrying myself well, by me behaving wisely. I remember when I went to Gateway, which is the school I went to, I was asked to come back 20 years later. Imagine, this is 20 years later from me doing my first day at school.
Kudos.
Yeah, and I go back there. One of the things that I would tell them is that you have to behave yourself wisely, even as a young person, even as a teenager. Behave yourself wisely because people are watching. David behaved himself wisely, and through that, more responsibility was added to him. By the time that Israel had to come together and crown him king, everyone was calling him king already before he had been crowned the king. So sometimes you then are given the title, the name, just by mere fact of you behaving wisely and carrying yourself well enough for the office that you are walking into. They always say you don't dress for where you are, you dress for where you want to be. For me, you don't carry yourself for where you are. You carry yourself well enough for where you ought to be. So sometimes you behave like a CEO when you are still just a cleaner in a company. So that's how that's what separates us from that's what separates and what separated me from just being a mere musician to now where I'm asked, I'm handling negotiations on behalf of international artists. I won't name names because I don't like name dropping, but I'm now in a space where I'm handling international negotiations on behalf of artists, and it's like you already have moved from that space of Mark is just a guitarist or Mark is just a piano player. But I don't even consider myself as a mere music director, but I am moving into space where maybe in a year's time, maybe in 10 years' time, maybe even in 20 years, that's when it will make sense that, this is where Mark was going. I haven't even reached my ceiling yet because I'm that person who doesn't just look at what's current. You have to see beyond that. And I think me evolving over the years has been as a result of that same mindset where even for Janet Manyowa, the where I was when we started together is not where I am now. Even in how I'm treated in that organization, because it's now a movement, it's an organization. The way I'm treated there is not the same way I was treated when I entered, because over the years, I obviously have to evolve and behave myself wisely in all that evolving to the place where I can now be given more responsibility because people can trust that Mark can handle even things that he hasn't done before, because most of the responsibilities that you're given are out of spaces where you haven't even entered yet. So I think that's one of my... I like what you mentioned. I wanted to mention it before maybe we move on so fast. You mentioned something about getting yourself or treating yourself as per where you want to be rather than where you are. I like that. That's deep. A lot of people, they have the tendency of doing, let's do now. And let's see tomorrow when we get to tomorrow. And I have an experience as well with that. I mean, couple of years back actually, I was employed with a security company. So, and I had no idea that the job is actually to be a security guy.
not like into finance or good whatever.
Okay.
So I'm showing up at work. Nobody told me. I'm putting on my, we church guys, we used to play in keys. So I'm like smart with the tie and things like that. They told me the uniform colors and then they gave me the uniform and I said, no, I've got the similar clothes in my closet. So let me just wear mine.
Okay.
So I went in looking like this, I'm showing up, and they're like, dude, are you getting into the office? I'm like, they told me to wait here. The supervisor is coming. Everyone was just laughing. And they came out. Everyone was standing outside. They're like, you're supposed to be with those guys. I'm looking at the guys I'm supposed to be standing with, what they're wearing, and me. I look like I'm about to take over the chairman's seat in his office, But it's me looking at where I want to be. And years later, right now, some of the guys I worked with at that company, because I worked there for 3 months and God removed me from that place. And that's how I birthed this company, AD Media, because it was out of that first salary from that job where I started to buy my equipment and I got into media. And the guys that I worked with that time were looking at me, they're like, we knew it, the first day you showed up with that tie. I'm trying to say what you're saying, I really relate with it, that it's always good to treat yourself as to where you want to be, no matter where you're standing. Very, very powerful. And say, I must commend you even for the order you have around you. I mean, just working with you, you feel it that I'm working with a professional here. Just everything around you, the communication, your PA, your system is just phenomenal. A lot of people I've seen doing music locally, our brothers, some of them, like what you were saying, that they behave like this is some hobby, yet it is actually their job, and you ask yourself, but this person, isn't he supposed to take this real seriously? Just walk me through your process of evolving yourself. What have you really done practically? There might be somebody listening to us right now who's like, okay, I think I would like to do things the way Mark is doing it. How have you evolved yourself? You gave an example of Sister Janet, that even with her team, the way that they're treating you now is different. You gave us another example of Zimpraise. So how have you evolved to become better than what you were when you first joined these guys and worked with them?
Okay, so I was talking to someone recently and I was admitting to them that it's almost impossible for me to translate the experiences I've gone through or my journey and to actually superimpose it on someone else's life. Because mine, to be honest, if we are to get a heathen or someone who's not spiritual to analyze it, they would think that it's just a fluke. Because honestly, my stuff it's beyond just the normal. It's God who's been carrying me. It's favor, unmerited favor, which I've gotten along the way, where, to be honest, someone could say maybe Mark has made great decisions in his life, but I will also tell you that some of those decisions, they felt like I'm being foolish in the moment. Like, I related sort of to what you were saying about guys you work with who then say, we knew it. Because when I was working at the bank, I have people who used to say to me, but Mark, why are you even in the bank? Why are you here? Because you don't belong here. You're not even supposed to be here. I remember the one time banking work and sending a sick note to work because I had to go play at a church conference. And then playing at that conference, my boss is one of the VIPs who are invited by the pastor. And my boss received a sick note from me in the morning that I was sick enough to not be able to attend work. But the funniest thing is that this same boss, probably like, this is what, 8 years later, actually called me. They got a post, like an executive post at one of the big companies. I won't name it now. And they actually approached me and he was asking me what I can help him with as far as strategy is concerned, to get their brand in people's faces with music and with gospel music. They want to get their subscribers to have like gospel music going for them, like that type of stuff. But even then I sort of knew that I wasn't meant to be a banker. But, somehow God has helped me to make the right decisions. At the right moment, I left the bank. At the right moment, I went to New Life. At the right moment, I was traveling with Bishop Bismark. And through that traveling, I got to be in green rooms at the right moment with the right people, who some of them I then worked with after. Some of them, it was just a learning experience. And over the years, through all those different experiences, I was adding onto my, my little sack, my little kabeg, wisdom, just putting in those different experiences, chucking them in there. And by now, I'm this guy here, but I'm a total summation of all those different experiences and the different decisions that by the Holy Spirit, by the leading of the Holy Spirit and the discernment that God has put in my mind for whatever reason, I've been able to make the right choices where I then evolve as things go. Where I could have responded to someone at Zimpraise, for example, harshly, and through that I could have cut my own, destiny short.
Yeah.
So a lot of my evolving is purely attributed to God. The other side of it is also just having a level head, just staying cool, keeping calm. There's no need for everyone to know what your emotions or what your feelings are, because sometimes we air out our dirty laundry in front of everyone, and then people just then know you. Like, for example, there are times when you have gigs with people where money is tight. Something happens and you are not paid when you are supposed to be paid. I know certain musicians who are known in the industry for not mincing their words about cursing you out, or, saying cursing words or saying very inappropriate things in response to you not paying them on time or something like that. I know certain musicians who are known for having a stinking attitude. Those type of things, they would definitely sideline you, where other people now get into conversations just because
that really
they
matter,
are known.
Because
yes,
you spoke like that.
Because you've got a calm head on top of your shoulders. So some of it, if I was to give someone a template, it's almost impossible. But I will share some principles, like, for example, keeping a calm head, staying calm, never burning bridges, digging deep. When the moment for you to shine comes, you should be prepared for it. I use that whole verse that time and chance happen to them all. It's from Ecclesiastes 10 verse 9, one of my favorite verses ever, which talks about whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. For in the grave where you are going, there's no device, no wisdom, no knowledge, blah, 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 no work. You can't work in the grave.
Preacher!
So whatever you are given opportunity to do it with all your might. And then the following verses. So we love this verse and we recite it a lot, that the race is not to the swift, the battle is not to the strong, nor riches to men of understanding, blah, blah, blah. But time and chance happen to them all. But we don't realize that the prior verse talks about whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might, knowing that where you're going, you won't have that opportunity. So your time and chance happens, but when your time and chance is happening, have you been doing the verse before? Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. So we are not giving our all to this. For me, I remember giving this in my talk at Gateway, that I gave myself to music to a point where now music is giving back to me, good measure, pressed down and shaken together, running over. So it says, give and it shall be given to you. Okay? Give and it shall be given to you. But what are you giving? Are you giving yourself? Are you giving your time? Are you sacrificing anything? Because a lot of us want to get back. I know so many people, so many female singers who say, I want to sound like Janet, or can you make me sound like Janet? I can't do that. And, there are people who want the results of what Janet... Yes. People want what Janet has, but they don't want to put in what she has put in, because she put in a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of tears, a lot of prayer, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of digging deep and digging through God's word, a lot of giving to herself and to her stamina, her strength, her faith, her being able to stand on the word of God. She has given so much to that, to the point where now it's flowing out of her, out of the abundance of the heart. The mouth is speaking, her voice is singing out loud the things that are bubbling in her spirit. Like right now, today, coming to this recording, I'm coming from a session, a rehearsal session with them, where she literally just wrote a banger of a song. We worked on a new song in a rehearsal, and I can tell you that song, by the time you hear it, you're going to love it, because it comes naturally to her. For me, someone was asking me about sound engineering. I'm like, that's actually something that I'm still learning, like studio mixing and studio and stuff like that. I'm still learning it, but at the point where I am right now, I dug so deep into playing keys that for example, for playing for Janet, it comes naturally. I don't really need to like sort of sit and practice all night, because it's already there in my system. Now there's time to learn other things so that I evolve into something else. But if you don't take the time to dig deep and to plow and to cultivate before the rains come, by the time the rains come, you have no seed in the ground. So there's no time and chance for you. The only time and chance for you is for zero. You have zilch. You can't multiply zero with anything and get anything. At least if you have 2, you can multiply 2 with 2 and get 4. So people need to dig deep. They need to plow. They need to sow seeds for their future, for that time and chance to happen for you. And you, by the time it happens, you are ready for that moment.
That's wow. Yo, that's a lot of eating there. And I could see the preacher side of you was manifesting, you know. I know you're a preacher's kid, and I'm a preacher's kid. You're a PK. I'm super excited about that. But we're going to talk more about that after this break. So ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly with Mr. Mark Madzinga, my sensei, shortly after this break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We still have my sensei in the studio. My teacher is here, my mentor. He was just telling us about nuggets and principles that he has acquired over time. You've heard it in the second segment. Right now, I just want to say, wow, that was a meal of wisdom that you just dished out right now. And, you know, many people don't want to share their secrets, but we're glad that brothers like yourself can come and just give, you know, what is inside of them for people to also learn. Now, I understand, and congratulations, you are the leader, worship leader at New Covenant Church, right? And Bishop Tudor Bismark. Wow, that's a high seat there, right there, sir. And I know church politics, you know, they say that people campaign to get into position. You know, people there, yada, yada. Tell us something. What happened? How does it feel to be in that seat, and how have the people received you?
Yeah, that one is, I'm still learning, guys.
I know.
Yeah, I'm still transitioning into it. But for me, you know, being a preacher's kid, I understand the heart of service. I understand the need to serve in the house of God, and I understand how if you don't serve, then there's no one else to. You can't expect anyone else to come and do what you see as a need. If you see the need, you are probably meant to, and you're probably equipped to fill that gap. So I remember having a conversation with one of the pastors who are my own mentors, and they were saying to me, you keep running away from this thing because you know its pitfalls, but the fact that you know the pitfalls is why you would even be qualified to, you know, to do it, to do the work. because you're not getting into it because you want the benefit or the title or the power or whatever that comes with it. Because at the end of the day, it's more of service than it is of, showing muscle or anything like that. And I'm not a muscle person in any way. Anyway. I'm still learning people, because at the end of the day, I'm head of music and media, and what it entails is learning those different individuals and learning those people, what motivates them, why they serve, where they're coming from, because everyone is serving from somewhere, and where they're coming from also feeds into how they behave. Because sometimes someone will act out, someone lashes out, but they're probably lashing out because they've just had a very tough night, or there are people who are even tormented by spirits, evil spirits, and you as a leader, a spiritual leader in a spiritual position, you have to be able to cover them, and you have to be able to pray for them. You have to be able to even lead them and guide them out of deep messes and things like that. So there's a lot of that ministerial side of things where you have to. The people that I replaced, it was a couple. They were actually pastors in the church. So it's pretty much a pastoral role, though I'm not a pastor, and I don't want to be called a pastor.
Pastor Mark! Oh my goodness.
But there's a lot of...
I'm going to be the first one to defy that.
Well, you're not the first one, because they started Gudara, guys.
Oh,
but
my
anyway,
goodness.
I realized that there's a lot of work that I need to do to just love the people and to dispense the love of God to these different people coming from different backgrounds, but to just love them and show them that church is actually a place where you can come and receive love, and you can come and exercise your gift and be appreciated for it, and you can participate in the body of Christ in spreading and dispensing the kingdom of God and kingdom culture, even through being part of a family. Yeah.
Tell me something. You mentioned something interesting about being a PK, because I'm a PK too. Whenever I'm talking to a PK, I get goosebumps. I just wanted to ask you, as a PK, what experience can you draw? Because I had an interview with Sister Janet, and she told me about her stuff. So I want to hear your experiences. I know PKs, trust me. So tell me something. Okay. What can you pick out from your experience as a PK that you just want to share with us?
Guys. Where do I even start?
When you hear starters, the word guys before the answer.
I can tell you that our home was not ours. It was never ours. Like, we were never free in our own home, because there were always people who come to be prayed for. They come and live with you because they are running away from. And it's always the ones who have problems. It's always the sick ones, or the tormented ones, the ones who are demon possessed. Guys,
you wanted those who are. You wanted the pretty girls who are just looking for friends to hang out.
Yeah. Or at least the ones who bring their own food. They bring their own bed, so you don't have to lose your bed and go sleep on the floor in the lounge and stuff like that. But
and you're told, go sleep on the floor.
Yeah. You obviously have to give up your bed, and it's always the guys first, then the girls. And but the experiences also prepared me for now, where of course it's not the same. It's not like I have to give up my home for someone else to live in it, but there are certain things that I'm willing and able to give up because I was prepared then. So every life experience, even the tough ones, even the bad stuff, it doesn't make sense in the moment, but there's always a reason. God doesn't take us through anything without reason.
It's now deep down in your system,
Yes, it's now embedded in me. It's like second nature. I don't have to think twice about it. But I just, when I was asked, for example, when I was asked to take this up. I had to give up something major that if someone else was in my shoes, they would probably pick that over taking the church responsibility, because it's like a voluntary thing, purely at a voluntary level. But what I gave up was not difficult to give up, because in my system, it's already there that I don't live this life for myself. My life is not my own. I'm here to serve. So that's what I know, and that's what my system knows. So my system will gravitate towards that more than anything else.
Yeah, interesting. And thank you for that. I think it's a good lesson to so many producers out there that, you must always know that there are other things that are far more important, especially kingdom things. When it comes to kingdom things, it's very important. You cannot replace that with anything. But let's just jump from that. Let's go to your experiences through your own projects. I understand just a few months back, this year you released a new track, Free. And I've
it's a new
seen
album.
New album, Free, and I was just listening to this video I came across on YouTube, and you were in a studio. I liked the feel, it just looked like a jam session / people in a recording. It was so dope. The sound is matured. I'm like, what? The desk is big. Wow. How have people received that one?
It's been, for me, it was an emotional journey. It was a deeply emotional journey. When my wife died in 2019, I set out to do an album for her. Initially, it was meant to be the few tracks that I'd done before, which she liked, which were never
Sorry
released.
about that.
And then I also then came up with songs where, for example, I would think of what my daughter was thinking the day that my wife passed away, and then people were coming into our home and there's confusion for her going around. She's not sure what's going on. So I would write stuff about that. I even wrote that song, Free. I came across, my wife was very poetic. She loved poetry. And of course, marriage sort of stifled down on it. I actually feel bad about that because I think the stuff that I came across that she wrote was mostly from before we got married. Of course, marriage comes with its own responsibilities and things that you have to do. But anyway, so I came across this one writing where she was talking about freedom, finding a place to be free where she could rest from struggles and stuff like that. And it sort of tied into, for me, the experience of her last days and how she was in so much pain. And it felt like she was speaking to me, telling me that she's actually now free. Of course, I'm crying and I'm in tears, I'm in pain because she's gone. But she found the man Jesus Christ, who held out his hand to her and said, "We're going home, you can now be free." So that's how I, penned that song, and it came with other songs, and a lot of it, the reception, answering your question, the reception has been those who are going through mental health issues, those who have lost loved ones, those who are going through pain, can relate to some of it, because I went through that whole roller coaster also, where I was depressed, where I thought I needed to take my own life, where I thought I was silly, where I thought I was lonely, I was left alone, where I felt like the world had just ended. I went through all that within the space of 3 years, and through it, music became my channel, music became my release, and this album is sort of my release. And by the time it came out, for me, just for me as a person, the knowledge, the relief of knowing that it's now out there, it's no longer just a burden on my heart, is enough. I didn't need any other reception or anyone else's response, because for me alone, I knew that I remember telling myself that by the time this album comes out, I could actually literally just die, because I would have achieved, like, as far as assignment is concerned, there's a box that's been ticked even in heaven to say I've finished, and that finishing thing has just taken place. And for me, it's been a journey, like I said, and getting to that space where the album actually came out, it was released. It was like a dream come true. It was a relief. It was a burden off my shoulders. It was like, yeah, God, you can take me now. But obviously, the fact that I'm still talking to you now means there's more assignments to do beyond that album. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good masterpiece. I'm sure it's now a combination of different values, different facets of advantages that you have obviously acquired over time, the maturity in the sound, the experiences, combined with now the feeling, the emotion. So, that brings it about. And this is the kind of music that, it has a niche. This is not come, let's jibby jabby here. It's music that addresses, it's music that addresses the heart, So I understand you and I connect with you. And I just wanted to also maybe, while we are talking about your album, since it's centered around your wife, and I'm so sorry, for that. But I'm also happy, like you're saying, that, she's in a better place, which we all believe that, when we are taken from this physical earth, we will be with the Lord. But tell me about your journey as a single parent right now. How has it been for you to be able to be a leader at church? I understand you filled in a position which had a couple before, and also single parenting your child, and you're a producer and you're a music director, you run your company. How is all that, and being single parent, how are you handling that?
I can tell you that I'm blessed to have had great family around me, and even the church, the family at church, they came through. The people that I've been working with in the music industry, they have been a great support. Obviously, I owe most of my gratitude, as far as my daughter is concerned, to my sisters who live with her. She lives with two of my sisters right now. They've done a great job over the past 2 years. They've taken her on and they treat her like their own daughter. And she even thinks, and she calls them mama, both of them. And she has settled into their home, and she knows who a real mother is. That's the great thing about it. She is aware, and she even speaks about her, and she knows that I'm her father, but she also knows that she has a second family where she is at now, and that has sort of given me space. Of course, I have to do things like school run. I have to take her to the hospital when she's sick. I have to buy meds and things like that. I don't neglect the fact that I'm a father, because I am one. But I think I've had loved ones around me who have helped me not only to cope and to move on, but also to just be me, to be able to do the things that I do. I obviously do them because of the support system that I have. So whether it's from the church or from my friends or from my sisters or from my workmates, it's been love and support all around.
Interesting. No, that's good to hear, that at least you have a very good support system that helps you to grow and develop. But just, I want to maybe bounce back to something you said earlier on when we started this interview about shows and your experience working with some international and local musicians. Tell me something about, in short and in brief, about impromptu shows, stuff that you guys do that was not rehearsed. How have you been able to pull off those that you really know we didn't rehearse any of this stuff and it came out great?
Ish.
You can even give us an example,
that one is a tough one, because it's a very tough one, because you'd imagine that I'm a music director. So most of the direction on stage musically is coming from me. So I struggle with things that are unrehearsed. I struggle with things that are not planned for. knowing at the same time that, for example, for someone like Janet Manyowa, she's very highly spirit-led. So she will do some things in the moment which you haven't done in practice. But it goes back to that same point that
she came
does.
For the interview.
She does a lot of that. But it goes back down to that point that I shared where I said you have to prepare yourself for that day. You actually can. It's like you go to the gym and you build muscle. You don't know that there will be a time where you need to push a car by yourself in the middle of the night or something like that. But you have lifted weights. When you're in the gym lifting those 20, 30, 40, 50 kg weights, you are not lifting it. You're not lifting a car in there. But there will be a time where you need to lift a car. You're not carrying a body across a river because they can't walk when you're in the gym, but you're preparing for it. And by the time that impromptu moment comes, you are actually ready because you're
ready and you can take on whatever that is. Interesting. So tell me something, maybe in closing, I want you to maybe just share a few principles. I love principles. I believe in principles. I'm this guy who always want to know what is the key or what is the principle behind A, B, C, D. From your experience, what you have learned, what you have gathered, looking at musicians, particularly in Africa, or maybe let me zoom in to Zimbabwe. We have seen over the time, I do appreciate new music that's coming. We have great musicians, but over the years, I think you can agree with me that we have had so many of old musicians with music that has stayed on the market longer than recently released music. And I once had this talk with you last time we spoke. So I wanted to just maybe hear, what do you think has been or was done? The likes of Oliver Mtukudzi, what do you think they have done to have their music stay longer, which newer musicians, some of them are not doing? I know some are doing, like Sister Janet and them, but there's some who are not doing that. What is it that they used to do, these old guys, that made their music stay even up to now?
Okay, so this one applies to anybody. If you want to have impact that stays, impact that lasts, you have to be operating within your own assignment, your own calling, your own strengths. So you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you're good at and what you're strong at, and not try to be what you're not. Because I know of certain musicians, even in the gospel industry, who have tried to, experiment and went overboard and overdid things just to... I remember when we last had the conversation, there are people who are just trying to trend. They're just trying to catch on to this whole trending business because Instagram it's an instant gratification thing where people are just looking for something they can like and share, or a TikTok thing that's trending and whatnot. But to be honest, I can tell you that last month's TikTok trend is already gone. There's already a new trend, and you could catch on to the whole trending thing for a few minutes. I'm gonna drop this one for this example. Master trended with that Hlongwane song, but for him to have impact on the young people that stays, he had to dig deeper than just that. Because I know it's just a one-hit wonder type thing, but what do you have? What substance is there? What I would prefer is for you to trend, yes, but once you have trended, people should have substance that they're coming to. It's like your trending is like a call. It's like an announcement to say, hey, I'm here. But if you've got a song that's trended and you say, hey, I'm here, and people are now like paying attention, okay, we are here. So what do you have to give us? Yeah. And you see, for someone like Oliver Mtukudzi, as much as he was a great guitarist with a very unique sound, because his guitar play could only be specific to his music, to be honest. You can't take those guitars and put them in celebration choir because it doesn't work together. But it was specific for him and for the assignment that he was carrying for the season that he was with us.
Yeah.
So it's a question of you knowing who you are, knowing what you're strong at, harnessing that and channeling it in a way that can benefit the world. I always say you should set yourself on fire and let the world come and enjoy the warmth and the illumination that your fire brings. But if you are busy trying to steal and poach fires from elsewhere, you will never harness your own flame because you are tamba moto wemashanga type thing. You don't have the substance yourself. There's no substance to you, so even trending won't help you because you trend for the moment, but your impact can't last longer than a year, longer than 2 years, longer than 10 years. We've got music that we listen to right now from Sam Mutukudzi, who died a long time ago. I was still a very young man when Sam died. I was still a very young man when Chiwoniso died. But My Ifamba Zaganaka is a song that you can play today and actually appreciate because they tapped into something divine, something spiritual, something beyond themselves, something that can relate to the next person who's not even born yet. There are people who are not yet born who are going to enjoy Oliver Mtukudzi's music because his music transcended this whole trending attempt. I think social media is great, but social media has given us this appetite for wanting to be liked, for wanting someone to just double tap.
And to pay my likes, never love.
To pay my likes, but my likes are not transforming lives. And what you're doing to get those likes is purely just for this.
Somebody actually said there's a difference between going viral and impact. He says you need to distinguish the two because you might think, we've made it, but what you just did was just to go viral, but there's no impact in it.
And but I think influence is like what salt does, like what yeast does. You don't see it in the moment. It's unlike fizz where there's this whole pop. Like if you shake a Coke bottle and then you pop you open it, there's this fizz that splashes out, but it lasts for a few seconds and then it settles again. And by the time that fizz is gone, the taste of the Coke itself, it has lost taste. It's almost like bland. And what you would rather opt to be is like yeast, which influences subtly. It's not very out there when it's doing its thing, but by the time it's done, it takes one flat cookie or flat biscuit and makes it a bloated loaf of bread. So I would rather be yeast, I would rather be salt. I'd rather influence one person at a time and influence subtly, and by the time it blows up, it's like wow. Or by the time I'm even gone, because that's what happened with my late wife. By the time she died, there were so many people who were coming with so many testimonies of how she had impacted their lives. But she was such a subtle person, you would have never known her. She wasn't popular, she wasn't famous, she didn't want to be famous, she didn't want to be on social media. But she was so influential with the people that she touched, whose lives she touched, and that impact lasted forever. And even up to now, there are people who still testify of that same impact. I would rather be that person by the time I die, where I have a legacy of people who are saying, Mark was great because he touched my life and my life is never the same because of Mark, than to say, Mark was great, he entertained me with the latest trend for 2 minutes, and then that was it.
Interesting. No, thank you so much, Mr. Mark. Pastor Mark, I don't know what to call him. but you're my sensei, and this is one of the things that really, move me. When I even select people that I call teachers and follow, it's that mentality. What are you going to leave behind? Even the idea behind Close Up is to impact, because I figured, okay, we have this media company, we can do these shows, we can do this. What can we do to change the world? Let's approach people who have invested their time into certain disciplines and bring them over, and they let them share their wisdom. And I might not know what you know, Mr. Mark, but by just having you on the show, look at the amount of people that have been reached through coming to the podium. So I can relate with that principle to impact lives and make sure people at the end of the day, they benefit something. Even when we're long gone, both of us, people still have these videos on these platforms, YouTubes and websites, and they'll still learn these principles. So thank you so much for taking your time to come to the show. It's been such a wonderful time with you. But before you go, you know me, I've got the game I play. Admires Truth game, and last time when I played with Sissy Janet, she played me. She didn't do the song actually. She did a little bit of it. So, but today I'm very careful. I don't want people to blindfold me. You have to select 2 questions of the 4. They will be on the screen, but you will not be able to see anything. You just have to select 2 numbers from 1 to 4, any of the 2, and then I'll read out the questions.
1 to 4. My selection is 4 and 1.
4 and 1. All right, you're the first one to pick number 4. Nobody actually picks number 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So 4-1. Okay, I'll start with number 4. Number 4 reads, "What is your bad health habit?"
Bad habit. Okay, so I know that I'm probably lactose intolerant because I always get a tummy ache when I drink milk, but I drink a lot of milk.
Like, man.
I know. Each time I'll have a tummy ache, I'll have a running stomach or something, but I will, like, when was it? The day before yesterday, I think I had a liter of milk in that day. But I obviously, it didn't end well. It ended in tears, obvious.
Okay, I'm going to move to number 1. This is so interesting. Number 1. Can you sing one common song you used to... One common song you used to sing from Tuku's collection. And
I can't sing
that one. I want that one that you
how,
did.
How
and
is
got
that?
Your girlfriend.
No. You rigged this thing. You rigged the thing. Because there's no way that no. No. This one, I am personally cancelling this whole interview. It's over. It's over because you rigged the thing, and I'm not doing that.
We received these questions after we have the producer. They'll be listening to the whole interview, so they prepared these questions based on what you were discussing. So
it's over. I'm not singing. So let me tell you a secret about me when it comes to singing. So I'm probably in someone's phone recorded somewhere singing. I remember when Sinach, when we were practicing with Sinach's choir. I know Becky went live. She was Miss Becky, if you know Becky K. She's now no longer Miss Becky, but she's Becky K. She was in our sessions and she went live. And in that moment, when I'm teaching people parts or whatever, I sing, and I have no problem with that. But ask me to sing like this, and I won't. I just won't. I won't. There's only one person.
Let's pretend you are teaching me. I already told you are my sensei, so let's pretend you are teaching me Tuku's song. I just want to tap into that environment, which made that girl come to you and say, "Hey, Baba, hey." Did she ask for your number?
You're not gonna outsmart me on this one. I am.
It doesn't.
At the next interview, I will tell you the song I will sing at the next interview after that one.
This is not fair. People were really anxious. When I mentioned you sing, now everyone was in anticipation. What can you do to replace that? What can you come up with? Because people we can't just end this interview like this.
If I had the guitar in here, maybe it could have sparked something in me. I would have picked it up and played. Maybe it would have brought the memories and I would sing again. But it's not here. So next time, I promise. Next time.
All right. Let me pick up a replacement question here quickly.
Okay.
What has been the most embarrassing thing you did live on stage?
The most embarrassing thing. I think it was definitely from this past. This has happened twice actually.
Okay.
Playing for Janet. The first time, she asked for a song which we hadn't rehearsed, and it wasn't on our list. And I had to play the sequence, or we call it sequencers or loops, which carries, that shaker, percussion. For us, it carries some of the extra sounds. So I played the loop, but I think it was 30 seconds or a minute late, and everyone was just looking at me. The whole auditorium was waiting for me to start the song. That was very embarrassing, and I remember Janet even saying something about the MD. I don't remember what she said, but yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. And then recently, at what gig was that? It was at a book launch, which it happened like 2 weekends ago in the HICC again. HICC, I don't know. There's something about it.
You must pray for it before you perform there.
I know. So Take Sure and Janet on stage, they're doing their collaboration, the song they did together. It's called Mutswene. And we had started the song, and then Janet sort of paused and took a moment. So I thought she wanted me to start the sequencer or the loops. And then I go to the loops to play it. And then I play, and then it starts in the middle of the song. Imagine. So it didn't start like at the intro. It just started. It's like, imagine there's nothing playing, and then you start playing a song, but instead of it starting right at the beginning, it starts like in the middle of the chorus, which is what happened. And yeah, that was very embarrassing. I was like, okay, I'm never.
So what
doing
happened?
that
You
again.
stopped and you went back to the beginning?
But I think there was an angel there with me, because that lasted probably like 2 seconds. I played, heard that it's wrong in like a split second, and then stopped it immediately. So there's probably people who didn't figure it out, but obviously the ones who are smart enough would know, because everyone was looking back at Mark to start the song. So, but yeah, embarrassing moments, I guess. Yeah.
And your job, it's very easy to know it's him. Because
it's very easy.
Everyone just knows it's him. I mean, a bassist can just hide inside the others. You know, likewise with the lead guitarist. But Mark, everyone knows it's him.
Yes, I'm the one. I took the fall for that one.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your team that has arranged for us to have this meeting with you. It's been a wonderful pleasure having you on Admire's Close Up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sir. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it with the producer himself, Mr. Mark Madzinga. Do follow him on his social plugs. We have them right there in the description below. If you have things that you agree or disagree, or you want to comment perhaps, feel free to do that in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We'd love you guys to help us grow this channel. Till we meet again, asante sana. Bye for now.